if I could just ask everyone to make sure that your mics are on mute. There's 121 people on the Zoom right now. So as you can imagine, if one of us has our mics unmuted accidentally, we're going to hear dogs, kids, etc. So please be mindful of that throughout this. Okay, let me switch gears. All right, welcome to the first virtual NYSTEEA Tech Ed Teacher Talk. We're so happy to have 124 participants, and people are still coming in. I keep on hitting the emit button as I'm going through this. To get us started, I just want to introduce the people behind the scenes. I'm Caitlin Bowen. I'm the Vice President for NYSTEEA. We have Liz Gallo, who is our immediate past president. Can you unmute and say hi, Liz?
Sure, I'm here. Hello, everyone.
And then we have Matt McGuire, who is our current president. Matt?
Hello, everyone. Morning.
Melissa Hurt, who is our Capital District Vice President.
Hi, everyone.
And Matt Stark, our website manager and immediate past vice president.
Hi, everybody. Hope you're having a great week.
Okay, we are excited to jump into today's teacher talk. A couple things about our format. We have a couple different presenters. Each presenter will present for 5 minutes, and they are tech teachers like yourself. And then we're going to allow for 3 minutes for answering questions. We're going to ask that those questions are going to be dropped into the chat. So please don't unmute yourself. We want to keep true to our timeline that we have set up. And then after that, once the presentations are done, we're going to go into breakout rooms for about 15 minutes. And we'll get into the format of how we're going to break it into breakout rooms once we get done with the presentations. And that will be a time where you can continue to ask questions to the presenters and have more of the one-on-one time. Obviously, the breakout rooms are going to be large since we have so many participants. We're so excited that we have so much interest, so we're hoping to do more of these in the future. We do want to quickly mention that any of the project ideas and resources that are being shared today are just to help you with the end of the school year. We're not guaranteeing that any of the programs or websites are recommended by our EdLaw 2D compliant. Any new website or program that you're using with students, make sure you're running those past your district's data privacy officer. Every school district's tackling the EdLaw 2D a little bit differently, so we just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. And then I'm going to pass the mic over to Liz. Can you chat a little bit about how we're saving the resources for our participants?
Sure. So on the NYSTEEA website, which you can see on the screen, there is a link to a COVID-19 page, and that will have all the resources that our presenters are sharing and willing to share with us today. Their presentations, their documents, their lesson plans, whatever they're willing to share will be there on a Google Drive. It just got dropped in the chat too, if you want to grab that from the chat. So go there, check out the resources as needed. And yeah, we're here to learn from each other. So we have 4 incredible, awesome presenters today, presenting about some work that they've done over the past months and just some project ideas. Our first presenter is Nick Cimarelli of East Rockaway Schools on Long Island, and he's going to talk to us about setting up Tinkercad for students. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and Nick will start sharing his screen again, and Nick will start talking to us for a couple minutes about how to get kids set up on Tinkercad, which is my favorite. Oh, let me unmute you.
Screen here.
Yep.
Okay, so everyone can see. You can see my
Nope.
PowerPoint. Well, it's Google Slide.
No, we can't. No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay, hold on 1 second.
Try again.
Share screen. Okay. All right. Let's try this again. Here we go. Now you should be able to see my screen.
Yep.
Okay. So I teach design and drawing. I also teach 8th grade. But this is a lot of people have used this. So one of the things that I had to figure out was, instead of just handing out like bookwork and stuff like that, maybe how could the kids possibly do some drawings online, something that they don't have on their computer or laptop. Obviously, Tinkercad is something that most of us have used in our classrooms at one time or another, but there is a way to set up classes and see your kids' work, which I thought was a really good idea. So these are the reasons why. It's web-based, it's simple. There are self-paced lessons that you can assign to kids and look and see their progress. You can view their work through the class that you set up. And there is also a way where kids can actually work together and collaborate on a design if you have kids that are willing to do that. And there's also ways that you can edit a design or even download it from the classroom, the way the students designed it. So those are some reasons why I thought this was a good idea. But there are some issues, obviously, and a lot of things that we do, we have to kind of do by trial and error. And one thing that I've discovered is kids need to save the link, and every time that they log on and do something, for you to see it, they need to have the class code and they have to type in their nickname. So if students just go on Tinkercad and don't sign in, you can't see their work through the classroom. There is something on there that says eventually they're working on getting it integrated with Google Classroom, but it's not done yet. So basically you just go to Tinkercad and you click on Teach, and you would just register yourself as a teacher. It is relatively simple. I'm sure you could figure that out. And then you can set up your classes. And then you would just basically go to create a new class, your grade level, and what subject that you teach. And then you would have to, this is the part that becomes a little bit tedious, not too bad, is to add your students. So if you have your students' names on a spreadsheet, a list, you want to copy and paste, that is probably the easiest way to do it, especially if you have a lot of classes, students in a class or a lot of classes. You can probably do it like that, and you can just add students here as a list, one per line, and it will automatically generate your class. When you get your class list, and I made a little dummy one that I'll show you, you have 50 kids in a class, up to. It will automatically generate a name and a code. If you want to customize it, you just click on the edit button and you customize it. But the bottom line is you got to get these names to the kids. So you could tell every kid it's your first initial last name, and you can then add something to the whole class. It could be 1, 2, 3. It could be whatever you want, and then that would be how you get the kid their name. Or you can just copy and paste this and send each kid an email. Unfortunately, it doesn't do that for you. Now the next thing is you have to send the kids their link, okay, to log on to your Tinkercad classroom. There's basically 2 ways to do that. You can just give them the link, and I think this top one is the easiest way to do it, because your class code is going to be in the link, and if they could just bookmark that, or every time you send out, I think it's easier now, I mean, this took me a while to do, every time you send out an assignment, send out that link. Tell them, click on this link first, enter your name, and then you should be good to go. And trying to get to the next one. A lot of this was just taken from this article on Tinkercad. There is more information on there. And again, I'm trying to keep this to 5 minutes or less, so I'm going to move along as quickly as possible. And I'm going to try to go to a different browser. Let me see what I can do here. Okay, so here's my classroom. I'm not going to share my classroom because it's got my kids' names in it, and there are privacy issues with that, but these are my possible classes. Here's one that I created. So I know that these 2 students signed up, which was me. This person did not sign up yet because they're grayed out. I can go in, I think. And one thing about Tinkercad, I will say it can be a little slow. So I checked the design that I did, which was my student, which was me. If I assigned lessons, okay, their lesson would show up there. I guess that one is not going on. So let me go back to my classes. I think I did a lesson for maybe this one here. Okay. And again, so you can assign lessons. That was my first design I did. NYSTEEA, I can go into it. I can play around with it. And did I do a lesson? Yeah. And this is a lesson because on Tinkercad, there are certain things that, you know, that you can do like self-paced, which is pretty cool. And then let me just go to my other browser real quick. And again, if I'm the student, I'm just going to click join now, and then they would join the class. And again, either they can enter that class code, but it's just easier to just click on the link and go. So I am pretty much done because I'm keeping to my 5 minutes.
Awesome.
And,
Thank you so much, Nick.
You're welcome.
Okay, so one question that we had for you from Nick Smith, would you say that 8th grade teachers who previously used Inventor, is it easy to transition to Tinkercad?
I think it should. I mean, Inventor is much more sophisticated than Tinkercad. Tinkercad is a little gamey. It's a little childish to a degree, but for some kids, it can be challenging. It does not have all the capabilities of Inventor, that's for sure. But for simple designs, if they can 3D print and put together, they should be able to figure it out pretty good.
Awesome. And then to answer Ryan's question about Chromebooks, it looks like Matt McGuire responded to that, and it's all cloud-based, so it
Yeah.
will work. I know personally using it on iPads is sometimes a little clunky, but it is possible. And then, what other questions?
I like Doug shared that you can also go in and fix a student's drawing when they're in your classroom. I think that's a super helpful feature.
Yes, definitely helpful in that regard. And you can just see that they're doing work. But the biggest thing is that they have to sign in using your class code. And I have a lot of kids that I did it, but I know that they didn't sign in using the class code. So every time you send out an assignment, send out the link for your class code, and hopefully they'll get it.
Okay, Liz, what do you think? Once we break up into the breakout room, some of your remaining questions can be answered if you wanted to jump into the breakout room with Nick after all the presenters are done. Liz also dropped in a tutorial for Tinkercad in the chat. And
okay, so thank you, Nick. That was an awesome overview. Thank you for
Yes,
keeping
thank
it
you.
short. So our next presenter is Vinny Garrison from Nanuet Schools. He is going to be talking about ways to be successful with Tinkercad and students' projects remotely. So Vinny, you are on.
All right, hello everybody. Some of the faces I see are familiar from conferences in the past, so it's good to see some of you here. All right, so I've been using Tinkercad. Normally I don't use it in my classroom because I just don't really have enough time to really fit it in. I use it a lot at a summer camp I teach at, and it's great. I agree, it does look a little bit childish, but it doesn't have to be used childish for sure. So what we did this quarter with, obviously every 10 weeks we got new kids, we had them go through a tutorial on how to create a wrench. That was a pretty easy tutorial. All the kids did that. And then we decided to do something a little bit more challenging and a little bit more open to customization. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'll show you I'm not going to show you the video, but this is the video we based it off of. We found this video. Oh, that's my castle. Oh, 1 second. Oh, I'm going to share a different one. Let's see, is that it? That should be it. Let's see. Oh, still my castle. Oh, that's weird. Okay.
Can you click the other tab?
There we go. No, this is it. Yeah. So we found this video. It was 16 minutes long, and it was a guy that was building this castle, but he wasn't doing it as a walkthrough for someone to use. So he wasn't talking. He wasn't talking about the tools or explaining what he was doing. So me and the guy I teach with, Brian, we just went through, we made our own screencasts, and we broke it into basically 9 steps. So as I just kind of zip through here, you'll see that he's putting this thing together pretty quickly. And there was no way a kid was going to be able to use this in order to learn to build. So we just took it and we made our own screencasts. Now, I could share with you the 9 steps and the 9 screencasts we made, but I'm not going to, only because, well, I'll share them with you. I'm not being mean about it, but I think if you were to use someone else's screencast, I don't think the kids are going to buy in if it's someone else's voice. So I will share the list the more I think about it, just so you guys can see how we broke them up into 9 steps. The 10th step they'll be doing on Monday, and the 10th step is the funnest one. They're going to take this base castle and they're going to customize it further. So if you follow the steps, this is the base castle that you wind up making. I decided to do, green and yellow Oswego colors. I'm sure many of you on this went there. But step 10 is going to be customizing this. And I already had kids adding drawbridges, adding moats, adding a family crest, adding like little, people, horses, things like that. But leading up to this, breaking it into 9 sections, the response from the kids was pretty good. Each time we did a step, they had anywhere between 2 and 3 days to do that step. So they had plenty of time. We meet with them once a week live, but because we're giving it to them in screencast form, they can, we tell them, just watch a section, pause it, go do that step. And if you need to go back, just go back, like take your time. We're really pushing this out nice and slow because we're doing it 5th grade through 8th grade, all the same project at the same time. It makes our life a little easier. And so far, a pretty good amount of success. I know we're not going to be able to 3D print these because all of our printers are obviously, the kids aren't going to be in school. But ideally, using Tinkercad is great for virtual. But if you have the opportunity to print it and then, put it in physical form, that's really the next level. So that's kind of it. We just, like I said, we broke it into 9 sections. We just went through nice, as slow as we could, because when you're doing something like this, you gotta, you think about your brightest kids, and maybe the kids aren't as bright, and you gotta kind of find somewhat of a balance in terms of keeping the brighter kids going and helping the kids that aren't, that struggle to kind of keep up. But that's it. It's pretty intricate. Like I said, I think if you're going to do Tinkercad, do something easier to start. I definitely would not start with this. For sure, you'll have a lot of questions if you start with this castle. So I would just start somewhere small. The wrench one was pretty good. Again, in a perfect world, if you could 3D print it, the wrench does work. It's a functional tool that they could take and use if you had access to that 3D printer. That's my 5 minutes. The only thing I wanted to say, because I was reading the chat when Mr. Sim was up there. If we do this again, I would love if someone has experience with Onshape, if they could just step up to the bat and just go through Onshape. I'm aware of Onshape. I have been for a while, but now that all these teachers, and I know teachers in my district that are using Inventor, moving into next year, Inventor is really not going to be possible because you can't guarantee what, hardware people have at home. But Onshape, I was always curious to know, how well it works. Could it be a nice stand-in for Inventor? Could it be used 5th grade through 12th grade? So moving forward, if someone could, potentially demo that or talk more about that, I think it'd be great for everybody.
So cool.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. So I always found that doing the Tinkercad tutorials with kids, those like getting started lessons, are really great ways to help them understand the 3D space and the 3D world. And it sounds like you really built in some great differentiation. So kids can add on moats and drawbridges and all these incredible things, or kids can follow literally step by step as they're figuring this out and learning. So that's awesome. It sounds like a really great project with lots of range for kids. So I love that. Thank you for sharing.
A question just to put out to the entire group. There's 134 of us. If anyone knows of any type of non-internet 3D modeling that would be easy for students that don't have access, drop it into the chat. I know that a number of people would probably benefit from that. It looks like Scott Gray would be willing to do an Onshape presentation next time we meet. Thanks so much,
You're on.
Scott. Make sure when we kick out that next interest, Scott, make sure you sign up and give us your presentation idea.
Okay, I could do that. I am using Onshape right now with my CAD CAM class. So, and we're actually 3D printing things from it right now, right to the printer. So it's working great.
Wonderful.
Cool. So we'll talk about that next time.
Awesome. Go
Okay.
ahead, Liz.
All right, our next presenter is Nathaniel Horn from Beekman Town Schools. He's going to talk about design projects for students dealing with responses to COVID-19. So thank you.
All right. So we've been pretty busy here at my school. Not too long after we shut down, we were asked by a local group to 3D print face shields for the local hospital. So we printed and delivered 500 face shields to the hospital, as well as another couple hundred to first responders. And we have right now a back stock of like 400 in case, you know, we have a need again. So we actually had students coming in and 3D printing at the school. I had a select group of 4 or 5 students that were allowed to come in. They were able to actually get paid through a staffing agency with a grant program that we were participating with before this started, with a work readiness program. So we came in, we partnered with another local group. This is the design of just the thing that we used. I don't know if you guys all saw that what Tryon is doing, and we did something sort of similar. So we used our 3D printer and laser cutter for the shields. My students created jigs and fixtures for sanding and cutting the elastic. So that's kind of what we did, and that's now in the past. Now, because they're still getting paid, they're still we still have them coming in and doing some prototyping stuff. What I'm going to mostly be presenting on today is these. This is a hands-free door opener. This was designed with through 3D Print Lab Classroom. It's a website I've been using. It's a subscription to 3D printing lessons. They printed out these gave out these files. This is supposed to just zip tie to any door handle. It really didn't work for our door handles. I found some other designs online that we've printed and didn't work. Here's another one. I like this better, but it's not shaped for our door. So the students have been working on some other designs for that. I was actually able to get a door handle from maintenance, and they brought it in, and there was a MakerBot 3D scanner in the library I totally forgot about, and one of the students went and got that, hooked it up on our computer, and 3D scanned this in. So we had a 3D model of our actual handle in Fusion to use as a tool body. So we've been working on that. We've also been working on something like this. I found this online. There's a Kickstarter for, they call it the hygiene hand, and basically it's a little keychain hook you can have so you can open doors and stuff like that. So my goal is that we'll be able to make these for the faculty and staff for the fall, as well as having something similar to this on the doors in the school when we get back in the fall as well, just to help with, if we're back in the building, to help with safety precautions and stuff like that. So it's been pretty busy here. We've been using Fusion, but this can be done with Tinkercad, and we've been CNC milling, but I have laser cut and 3D printed prototypes. One student came in and he made a box full of different designs. So that's really what I'm focusing on in my breakout.
So one of the questions from the last presenter to this one that kind of carries over, how are you assessing your students? Are you using grading rubrics? What does assessment look like?
Right now, it's a select group of students. I have a very small product design class, so actually all the students are coming in and putting time in. I haven't really been doing assessment. It's been real world learning. They're coming in, they're doing the work. they're getting paid through the staffing agency. It's just kind of been, we're doing stuff, and you know, they've all been doing top-notch work.
Awesome.
With
How can
special
we-
permission from the superintendent. I only have a couple students coming in.
Yeah, I think you're probably in a lucky situation. I'm sure not all of us have that privilege right now. I know
Yeah.
some people brought home 3D printers and laser engravers and whatnot, but that's
We had-
awesome that you're
we had
able to have
teachers,
access.
take home some of our other printers, but I have 8 3D printers in my classroom, and I wasn't ready for that electrical bill. And we had the laser cutter, and we were processing. Like, we had also some employees. We had at one point up to like 8 people just processing stuff. Just like the school cafeteria has workers coming in up there, we had the same thing: gloves, masks. We were, you know, had 2 people in a room. And our school's actually been really locked down. Like, teachers aren't allowed access at all. So I was given special permission to put together a small team of people to do this project. But this could totally be designed on Tinkercad at home with students. I've been trying to do that with my DDP class. It's been rocky, but.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That's awesome. So our last presenter is Isuk from City Tech College, and he's going to share with us transportation-related technology design to help our neighbors to combat COVID-19. I think it's a pretty cool project. So Isuk.
Hello, so I'm going to take over this presentation. My name is Isuk Song, and then I want to share my screen. So can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm from City Tech. So I joined the City Tech last fall. So my subtitle is How to Survive Technology Education in COVID-19. This is a really fun title. And I want to ask why we are here. Why am I here, and why we are here? So actually, I'm from South Korea. So this is my school in South Korea, and I was a technology teacher. I'm still teaching in City Tech, but this has made messy my technology classroom. And who we are? So we are technology teacher, right? So we teach concepts of science, mathematics, using hands-on and system-based approach that solve technological problems, as Nathan shared. But so I want to a little bit talk about where are we. So our program, technology education, started in 1800 as a vocational education, and we moved to manual training, manual art, and right now we are technology education. And this year, ITEA, they will release new standard, which is technological and engineering literacy. So this is their standard that will come out this summer. So they defined the rule of engineering and technology in STEM. And I want to ask this question. So what makes the technology classroom unique? And this is also related to COVID-19. So we are using hands-on project-based learning and STEM integration and student-centered learning. But I'm realizing that these are really hard to implement in the COVID-19 situation, right? So how technology teachers teach and how students learn? This is my question. And this is my my theoretical framework of this presentation. So students come to the class with their preconceptions, and they construct their knowledge in the learning process. And I want to share a short video. So this is I captured from this makerspace. It's 16 kids that came to the workshop, and then what I did was I captured their position, physical position. So the X and Y is their physical locations. And this is amazing finding that teacher and students interact with each other all the time. The point was their physical locations, but we are not used anymore in the COVID-19 situation. This is critical to us, right? Each dot is their point. So yeah, that's interesting. And how COVID changed our classroom. So before and after, this is my 9 years daughter. She's studying on the computer. About technology classroom. So we did project-based learning in our school, but right now we can't implement the project-based learning. This is my concern and my biggest challenge that I'm dealing with. And we have two options when we transition to distance learning, synchronous and asynchronous. I'm using two methods in my class, using Zoom and then Google Classrooms, but this is my issue when I'm using the tools. So we don't have a lack of support because we can interact physically with students. So people maybe feel isolated. And then disciplines, very hard to manage students' participants. Maybe they will just join their classroom and then maybe they're watching YouTube video, whatever. We don't know. And use of technology, some students don't have enough internet connection and they don't have devices to access the learning materials. And this is my question. So what we teach, content, and how to assess their learning and how to deliver, how to teach. Those are three questions. And this is the one way I used in my class. So we shift to the distance learning, and then I found a New York Times article that described the way to help our local community who combat coronavirus. And I brought this idea into my classroom and let my students design a way to help people who are vulnerable to the virus. And I gave their design task. I broke down this design task. I brought this idea from the article, actually. And this is the one example. My students, they designed ear savers for medical workers. And he 3D printed this idea. And then another student designed this cart for delivery cart for elder people because elder people cannot go shop due to the virus. And then another student designed the bus station for commuters that physically isolate 6 feet. So that was great. So he designed and then he also converted the idea into Sketch. So SketchUp and then AutoCAD design. And this is my takeaways, and then we need to think about these issues. So what we teach. So my conclusion was we need to use active integration of computer technology because in the future, our department or students want to more use computer, more want to learn computer in technology classrooms. So in the fall, I plan to use low-cost microcontrollers. So maybe, I don't know, but in the fall, maybe we cannot come back to school. So in that case, I want to use microcontrollers such as Arduino, which is just $30, or Microbit, that is just $20. And then second question is how to teach. So this is my biggest question. Maybe you have a lot of this question. So how to individualize student learning. So what I found was individualization. For the individualization, asynchronous way is more effective than synchronization. So I used the Google Classroom, and then I gave my knowledge test on my Google form, and I just immediately gave feedback based on their response. That was my one strategy. And then I'm rethinking the class structure. So in the fourth semester, I want to separate my class structure by 3. Pre, in-class, and post-class, because in the pre-class, I want to show my YouTube video that I captured by myself. And then in the class, I want to discuss about the classroom that I shared just before. And then post-classroom will be their project or their discussion. This is my strategies. And then I want to jump to the next one, how to assess distance learning. So I showed the history of technology, and I want to focus on here praxeology, which means knowledge of practice. So in the assessments, we need to assess the how students use the knowledge just rather than what they know. So, and then we need the interactive teaching method and assess. I'm a big fan of the Google Classroom, and Google Form, which is great to collect their response. And then paradigm change, we need to change what students are able to do rather than what they are know. And knowing, understanding, doing, and impacting is my hierarchy of my assessments. And this is my final question. So what's the role of the teacher in COVID-19? So because I'm advising internship students, but one issue was he just showed YouTube video to students and collect the data. But I said, that is not your teaching, this is YouTube teaching. So I don't know what is the best way to handle this issue. So there are lots of good resources in the internet, but how much we have to use that data, the YouTube video? This is my question. So I want to talk more about this question in the discussion time. So that's it. So.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. That was an awesome chart with when you plotted where the students and the teachers were in the room. I think that is so interesting to think about how it changes over time and how students get more comfortable with projects. I loved that idea. So a lot of there's some chat in the chat box about getting kids to stay engaged during learning, during all of this. So we think that's a good conversation. We can share some tips and strategies about that. We are going to break into breakout rooms to talk with each other, to have some good conversations about what's happening in your classroom and what is going on. So what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to rename yourself. So everyone has the ability to rename themselves if they're on video with us or on the computer. And what you do is you click the 3 little dots on the top of your thumbnail. So if you find your picture, you click the 3 dots on the top of your thumbnail, make sure it says like what your name is you like to be called. And you're gonna name yourself the number of the breakout room you are gonna go to. So I'll tell you the numbers of the breakout rooms next. But you are going to go to the breakout room based on the number that you wanna go to. So our breakout room numbers are, so the first one is gonna be setting up Tinkercad. So if you're interested in talking about that from our first presenter, you're gonna put a number 1 before your name. If you are interested in talking about the Tinkercad castle creation with Vinny, you're gonna put a number 2 in front of your name. If you're interested in the student response to COVID with Nathaniel, you're gonna put a number 3 in front of your name. If you're interested in what Isuk was just talking about, you're gonna put a number 4 in front of your name. So what is the role of teachers in COVID-19? And if you just wanna have some general conversations, not specifically about any of these topics, you can put number 5 and we'll put you in one of 2 breakout rooms to just chat with some colleagues. So I see Nathaniel put 3, Nathaniel Horn. So if everyone could do that, I would absolutely appreciate that. It makes me super easy to assign everyone. Hopefully, there's so many windows. Oh, it's going back here. Okay, here we go. 1, 1, 1, 1. If you can't figure it out, don't worry about it. We will help you in another way. And then I will open up the breakout rooms in just a minute and move everybody there. So just bear with me as I do a lot of clicking.
So you might have to change out of speaker view. Sometimes in order to get the 3 dots, you have to toggle on and off gallery view and speaker view in order to find the 3 dots to change your name. Just an FYI for those that might be struggling. I had to figure it out too.
Thank you for sharing that helpful tip.
Matt, this is Tanya Lackey. I had that same issue, but I clicked on participants, found my name, and if you click your name under the participants list, your, you can rename yourself from there without the 3 dots.
Oh, the thing keeps moving.
Thank you, Tanya.
Cool. You guys are doing awesome. This is working out so well. After you get to a breakout room, make sure you put your real name so people don't call you number 5. Because there's a lot of just number 5s.
So once you break up into your breakout rooms, you know, feel free, we still have large groups, so feel free to still use the chat feature. And then whoever's running that breakout room, feel free to, you know, give an overview and answer as much of the questions as you possibly can. Liz has some group norms for us. So, you know, be generous, be kind, be courteous. We're not gonna be able to get to everything within 15 minutes. So obviously there's a need and we will do this again in the future. Be considerate in your speech and actions. Everyone plays a role in moving the conversation forward. So if you see somebody putting in a question in the chat box that you can answer, feel free to do so. Share the mic, then mute your mic. You can learn just as much you know, with listening as speaking sometimes. So make sure you're listening to others. Be positive and solution oriented. We understand that we're all going through a hard time right now. Nobody has the perfect answers, or else that would be publicized everywhere. We all had the answers with what to do right now to have 100% participation with our students. Stay on topic. And if the topic's not working for you, it's okay to find a different session. So Liz, how do they jump back then? They
So
can just leave that breakout room?
Leave breakout room and come back to the main session, and I'll be here to move you. Yeah, which is on the bottom of the screen. Okay, I'm gonna open up these breakout rooms right now, and then people are still gonna be stuck with us in the main room, and we'll just deal with that. So you will automatically get sent to your breakout rooms. We're gonna leave them open for 12 minutes, and then when they're closing, you're gonna come back to the main room. We'll do some final closings, and that is it. We are so excited that we're doing this. Okay, here we go. You're just gonna hang out, everything's gonna go away. You're gonna go to your breakout room and be in your new room. See you in a bit.
How's it going, everybody? I think I successfully made it to breakout room 5. Looks like there's 19 of us here.
Matt, do you have a topic, or is it open topics?
This room's meant to be completely open. I'm here as like a tech teacher and as a NYSTEEA rep, so I can answer NYSTEEA questions if there are any, but it's meant to be complete general conversation, anything you want to talk about type thing. So no, nothing specific.
So I can start it off. What I'm interested in, my name is Eric Phillips. I'm from between Albany and Saratoga, New York. The CT, so I'm a longtime tech teacher, CT supervisor, and I'm interested in what other school districts or other administrators are talking to tech teachers about the opening of the school year. Interested in who's done some planning, what type of conversations you guys have had. That's kind of my question, and I'm looking to hear from other people.
Sure, I can answer at least for where I'm at. So my name's Matt Stark. If I haven't met you, I see some familiar faces there. I teach in Liverpool, which is a northern suburb of Syracuse. So I'm right dead on in central New York. At Liverpool and some of the districts around us, around the Syracuse area, we've started to see some evidence that districts are making some decisions. We have not been told anything directly, so this is kind of speculative. But we've seen some pictures of classrooms starting with the 6 foot apart desk thing. And the conversations that we've heard from some other teachers and those picture messages is the idea is that if we go back to school in the fall as normal, whatever normal means, that students will be in one classroom for most of the day, and the teachers will then rotate. So that's the way that they're trying to combat the kids getting close to each other in the hallways thing. So that's at least what we've heard in Central New York, and I don't want to take up a lot of time here. So if anybody else wants to chime in, that's all speculative. Like I said, there's nothing official, at least, that we've seen up here.
I'll just speak up. I just find it interesting that you guys have a direction and I'm in Albany and we don't even have a direction. So it's interesting to hear the different differences that are going on. I wouldn't mind doing maybe a shared doc with that, because maybe some of us can bring some information back to our districts instead of, again, reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, I feel like districts are trying to figure it out. There was a pretty good, in upstate New York, a pretty good thing that was on the NBC TVs, or I should say the stations last night. And they were starting to talk about it, but districts are like trying to figure it out with no direction yet, because, you know, we're under state ed and the Board of Regents and a bunch of organizations, and nobody has officially come out with anything. So at this point, districts might be trying to come up with plans if this happens, or if this happens, or if this happens. So everybody's just flying and trying to figure it out on the go, I guess.
So John in the chat said that he's heard that there's committees being created. From what I understand, yes, in each one of the BOCES areas around the state, the superintendents are meeting regularly. The state and the state ed commissioner, governor have not put out anything yet. They've asked for a first, there's Google Docs on that BOCES regional level. And they've asked the superintendents and assistant superintendents to load stuff in by Monday, just general suggestion ideas into those Google Docs. Some states around the country do have plans. I don't know if it's Missouri. I think there's 3 out of like 50 states that do have a state plan. And the regional areas are looking at those, and just everybody is kind of taking a wait. It's got to go to state ed first, and then it's going to come back down, kind of thing.
See, we've been told that we need to be able to prepare and plan for being in school and then suddenly being out of school, because if we have one student who has tested positive or any family member who's tested positive, then we're shutting down for 2 weeks again. That right now is what they're preliminarily planning. So we have to be prepared with what we're doing for transitioning from what we're doing in the classroom to now we're going to be doing this at home for 2 weeks. I'm planning on running my classroom in school the same way that I would run it right now. So I think we're still going to use an online platform, even in person in school. But, you know, we have to be prepared that there could be sudden shutdowns of districts here and there throughout the entire year.
I've heard similar things. The other thing that was brought up in our district the other day was parents might be allowed to like opt out their kids. So if that's a thing, like we have to, as teachers, be able to teach normal classroom setting and virtually at the same time, when some of your kids might be staying home, some might be allowed to, like, I had never thought about that before, that it may be happening simultaneously. And I was like, whoa, because that really changes as tech teachers what we'd be able to do if we have to do both at the same time, similar to what you were saying, Mark, with, you know, if we were, it's kind of like we're doing the same thing, we're just in person versus virtually.
Can I jump back to Eric Phillips? Eric, are you, am I understanding right that it might be almost top down, telling us how each district's going to run our schools? Or is it still going to be open to districts?
I can speak a little bit to this. I'm Brittany Kiernan. I'm the Tech Ed Associate with NYSTEEA in the CTE department. And I can say for right now, we do not have any specific guidance with regard to how the fall will function. The guidance was just released last week about summer school and how summer school needs to be conducted remotely. But one of the things that I'm trying to do, I've been in this position, I was in it for a month before we all had to go remote. So I'm trying to actually assemble a list of the technology education teachers around the state so that as guidance and as information becomes available from NYSTEEA, I can get that directly to you as fast and as efficiently as possible. So as guidance becomes available, as information becomes available, I'm happy to share that with everybody. What I'll do is I can put my email in the chat box, and if anybody is interested in getting added to my listserv, I will add you if you send me an email. I am not going to be sending emails every week, every other week. The only time I will send information is when I think it's important, pertinent, and you need to know it. And it'd make it easier for me to get that directly to you so that it doesn't necessarily have to trickle down. I can just give it right to you. But for the fall right now, there is no guidance yet.
Has anyone else's district alluded to the end of the snow days and those basically going to a distance learning day starting with next year, now that we've proven we can do distance learning as needed?
Our district hasn't said anything about that.
I could actually chime in here real quick. I just attended my union meeting virtually 2 days ago. And they said, at least for my district, that we're not going to do that. Snow days will still be snow days. But I don't know if that's a district per district thing.
Thank you.
Sure.
Brittany, I'm sorry if you already, no, I didn't. Oh, you just shared it. I'm sorry. Thank you. Appreciate your help there. I'm actually from far Western New York and very rural area. And one thing I'd like to bring up, if anyone would like to speak on this, is I'm actually going to be our new technology teacher next year. I'm walking out of 8th grade science. I'm hopefully going to get my certification sometime soon. Kind of waiting on that. But walking into the tech classroom with, right now I have about 1/3 of my students or less with adequate internet access. And just curious who else has those challenges, just from the previous presentations there. Fantastic, amazing stuff. But jeepers, I'd only be reaching about, a small portion of my students. And just curious who else has those challenges, and if you'd like to discuss some ideas on how to get information to those other kids or projects for them.
I know we might run out of time, Tony, to adequately answer your question. I would say throw an email to NYSTEEA, and I think that's a great topic that we could actually cover in one of these in the future. I know there's quite a few people in a similar situation as you. I don't know if anybody can say anything quick. We got about a minute or two before they throw us back, but I would love to have that as a topic. That's an awesome one.
My school has really been making a great effort for these kids without internet. Our bus department has been working every day doing bus routes, sending packets out to those kids who don't have internet. About 30% of our students don't have a reliable internet. And unfortunately, that paperwork's the only way we're able to get them anything. There's discussion about setting up hotspots throughout the district for next year, but I don't know how realistic that is. But for this time, it's been our bus department sending out packets.
And the CTE TAC has been hosting meetings similar to this every week with more content-specific areas or middle-level areas. And this has been a prevalent thing that's come up in conversation. It's very prevalent that not everyone has access to the internet.
Okay, great. All right, should I call first? Yeah. No, I'm gonna pull up in a car. I won't be right.
Brittany, I just wanted to say thank you. Brittany, as she described, is new this year, taking over for, of course, I'm forgetting his name now.
Phil the
Yeah, for Phil.
Oh.
And It's I got to meet her in Albany a few months ago, and she's awesome. She's going to be a huge support for us, and we really appreciate it, Brittany, because in this time, all tech ed teachers are real nervous because our profession, is a lot of electives based and all of that kind of thing. So especially with now people being home, we're real nervous that you got to have the hands-on stuff for the kids. And if we continue down this road, that would be really hard to do. So thank you for all of your support.
I'm happy to do it. And honestly, you guys have my email now. So if any questions come up, feel free to send me an email. It's what I'm here for. I might not have the answer to every question right away, but I will try and find it. But teacher certification questions do go through OTI, and I'm not able to answer those questions. But other questions, I can find answers to.
Matt, just a quick question for you. You mentioned to email NYSTEEA, just general email address or you specifically?
Either way doesn't matter. I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you.
I'll forward along anything that I get to. So there's the NYSTEEA email. It's just info@nysteea.org. You can send it to me directly if you like, whatever you want to do. The other general thing I wanted to make sure that I said, hang on a second. There we go. There's the email. Sorry, Melissa, I sent it to her directly and I didn't mean to. NYSTEEA is looking for leadership help. There's a bunch of younger people now starting to work into NYSTEEA, and we're really excited to continue on what we've done. But we're looking for leadership help. NYSTEEA is the body that is able to lobby in New York State education. So if you're not currently a member, please consider becoming a member, because the more members we have, we can also use that as a bargaining chip, as well as the actual membership fee we can use to then lobby better in the New York State Education Department. So please consider becoming a member. If you pay for 2 years up front, you get a discount. But now is the most important time to actually join NYSTEEA. As an example, something like the event we're doing right now and what we hope to do a few times, this would typically be a members only meeting. But we thought that it was important to get as many people that knew tech ed to get on this as possible. So we opened it up to the public. But in the future, you could see this becoming a little bit more members only. Not this year, but I'm talking in the future. So this would be an event that members would be open to. So it would be something that you would have access to in the future. So please think about it, not only becoming a member, but thinking about doing leadership things. What's neat recently this year in NYSTEEA is that we separated out the leadership structures, so people are in charge of less things. So for example, I took over the website development. So that's just my role. I used to be vice president, but there were a few things under the vice president role, so I switched into just website development. So we've been able to make a bigger structure of people that everybody is mostly focused on one or two tasks.
Okay. Yep, all the rooms are closed and everyone that's still with us is back. Thank you for making that travel through the interwebs and back. I know. It's nicer than TSA. You don't have to take your shoes on. You don't even have to put your shoes on, which is awesome. So thank you for being here today. It's been an incredible experience. We're so grateful for everyone that shared with us. We hope you found this incredibly helpful and useful. We're looking forward to do this again. Caitlin just shared in the chat a link to a form for a quick survey asking for opinions if anybody wants to share some stuff. I know we heard some great stuff today. We want to thank all of our presenters. Thanks all of our hosts for putting this together. Thanks NYSTEEA for supporting us. And we look forward to seeing you again next time.
Yes, so you saw how, 5-minute presentation. Think about what you can present. Be on the lookout for, social media and email. And we hope to have, more meetings and sharing of content. Thank you so much. Shannon asked, when are we going to be doing it next? Not sure. We haven't planned it yet. So as soon as we get done with looking at your survey responses, we're going to meet back up as an executive board, look at how it went and what type of feedback you have for us. And then we will go from there. CTLE, we hope to do that for you next time. Not for this meeting, unfortunately. Sorry.
I also wanted to mention from the sharing of resources type of thing, the website will be updated today. I'm also hoping to pull in the video that we've been recording this whole time and thrown that on YouTube as well. So everything will be available at some point today as things get updated. So things will get posted shortly.
Thank you so much, Matt. I'm going to drop the form in one more time. And then as soon as you're done with the form, you're welcome to head out. Hope you're not getting rained on too bad outside. I know the storm is coming our way today.
Bye.